Hi friends, and today we will understand how elasticity of demand affect incidence of taxation. It means in case price elasticity of demand situation, who will bear the burden of the tax or incidence of the tax? In case in the situation of the price elasticity of demand, who will bear the incidence of the tax or burden of the tax? We can understand. And first we have to understand the what is the price elasticity of demand. The price elasticity of demand is nothing but that is responsive of demand to change in price. The consumer's response or reaction to change in the price level. And the price elasticity of demand measures how much changes in quantity of demand due to change in price level. We can call as a this is as a price elasticity of demand. And next is incidence of tax. What is incidence of tax? It means ultimate burden of tax. A person who will finally and bear the burden of the tax, that is called as a incidence of tax. Incidence tax, it means that finally which that person who is bear the burden of the tax, it is called as a incidence of tax. And next we can come to the that is how this price elasticity of demand affect to the incidence of taxation or burden of the tax. Who will bear the burden of the tax in the situations of the different types of the elasticity of demand situations? In case first situation is perfect price elasticity of demand. In this situation we can see who will bear the uh, burden of the tax, whether producer or consumer. In this diagram we can see OX horizontal axis present the quantity of demand and supply, and OY vertical line present the price level. Suppose if any in case perfect price elasticity of demand situation, there is no changes in the price or small portion changes in the price, small portion increase in the price level, the quantity of demand from OQ to OQ1 will decrease. I hope you understood. If any in the price level there is no changes or small portion changes in the price level, suppose increase in the small portion increase in the price level, but in the reaction of the consumers the demand level is decrease from the OQ to OQ1. This is the change into Q portion. And then S is the supply curve, and S supply curve shift to the S1 supply curve. And in this case the burden of the tax will be at the producer, not consumer, because consumer suddenly means react or response to the changes, small portion changes in the price level. In this situation the burden of tax will be bear on the means burden of tax on the producers, not consumers, in the case of perfect price elasticity of demand. The elasticity of demand is infinitely, it will be infinitely. In the second situation we can see, in second situation which is the more price elasticity of demand, here also we can see, and that price level from OP to OP1 increased. The initial price level is OP. This is the initial price level OP, and initial quantity of demand is OQ level. Suppose the price increase from the OP to OP1, increase in the price level from the OP to OP1, then the quantity of demand decrease from OQ to OQ1. The quantity of demand decrease from the OQ to OQ1. And we can see that the supply curve shift to the S1 curve. Here, that is more elasticity of demand. It means Q2 Q1 portion na Q2 Q1 is more than P1. Q1 more than P1 means the response of the consumers for the demand is more than changes in the price level. Means the price elasticity of demand is more than 1. In this situation, the burden of the tax on the producers, not on the consumers. You can see this is the S is a supply curve, shift to the S1. This A point, and this is the B point, and this is the D point. AB from point A to B. This from A to B point is the burden of tax of the consumers. And point B to D. Point B to D is the producer's burden of the tax. The AB is less than BD. Means the burden of the tax on the consumers is less than burden of tax on the producers. It means the burden of the tax on the producers is more than consumers when the more price elasticity of demand the situation. I hope you understood. Next situation we can see less price elasticity of demand. The less price elasticity of demand, you can see here price level, initial price level is OP. This is initial price level OP, and initial quantity of demand level is OQ. Suppose here also price increase from OP to OP1, price increased. Then quantity of demand decrease from OQ to OQ1, and then initial supply curve and demand curve. This is the equilibrium point. This S curve is the initial supply curve. When the price increase from OP to OP1 and demand will decrease from Q to Q1, then supply curve shift from the S to S1. This is the new equilibrium point. And then what will happen? And in case that Q to Q1 changes in the Q to Q1 portion is less than P to P1, changes in the P to P1. It means the response of the consumer's demand is less to change in the price level. And in this case, you can see burden of the tax level. Here is H and I and R. 3 points. HI, from H to I, this is the burden, this portion now, H to I. H2I portion is the consumer's burden of the tax. From I to this point, I to R, this point, this is the producer's burden of the tax. It means HI is more than IR. The burden of the tax on the consumers more than burden of the tax on the producer. In the less price elasticity of demand, the burden of the tax on the consumers means burden of the tax on the consumer is more than burden of the tax on the producers in this case. And then next point is imperfect elasticity of demand. The imperfect elasticity of demand, the situation who will bear the burden of the tax in this situation. Here we can see the price level is OP, that is the initial price level. Increase from OP to OP1, but we can see in the quantity of demand, there is no change in the quantity of demand. See, in case changes in the price level from OP to OP1, but there is not any changes in the quantity of demand. This is initial supply curve. Shift to S1 when changes price from the OP to OP1. That equilibrium, initial equilibrium and next equilibrium on point 1. In this case, the burden of the tax completely on the consumers, not on the producers, because the elasticity of demand or price elasticity of demand equal to 0. In this situation, the burden of the tax on the consumers, not on the producers. This is and we understood today, and how is that uh, how that incidence of the tax or burden of tax in case a different price elasticity of demand situations. I hope you understood. Thank you for watching and your support.